Hey everybody, I'm Jesse and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And as you can see, I'm doing a live show this morning. I just worked late last night, didn't have much time, so figured I'd just do a live show this morning. And we got the whole Charlie Kirk thing going on. But actually this episode was suggested by Laic. Just another guy in the woods, so he gets credit for the idea for this episode. But having said that, the Charlie Kirk assassination. Now there are, a couple of possibilities. It was a left-wing kid who did the shooting and completely on his own and just wound up whatever, because he didn't like what Charlie Kirk said or was saying. He didn't like Charlie Kirk's idea, his philosophy, because Charlie Kirk was a patriot and he just spoke the truth. Or was it something deeper? Was it some kind of government thing going on? Either some other government or, United States deep state shit. We may never know, whether that is the case or not. But whether this will blossom into something more like Sarajevo in 1914, I believe that was called the shot heard around the world, or maybe I'm getting that confused with something else. But only time will tell whether this will actually start something. But if this stuff keeps happening, the odds are that it will. One of these events will eventually be another Sarajevo. You know what I mean? It will kick off something major. Now, who was it? Herringbone actually suggested or brought up the point that Charlie Kirk's organization is called Turning Point, and he wondered if that might be prophetic, and that's an interesting thing to think about, because if the Charlie Kirk assassination could be a turning point, so. I have a problem, just like everybody else. I know you have a problem with this kind of shit. I have a problem with this kind of shit. We all have a problem with this kind of shit, right? So we see this kind of stuff, and not only is it dark and horrible, but it's confusing, because we don't know if it's some kind of political intrigue, deep state CIA shit, you know what I mean? Either from, like I said, from our country or from another. Was it Russia, Israel, what? We don't know. Was it our own? I don't know. And that tells you just how screwed up it is to be in this world today when you don't know if it was your own government, right? That offed a patriot. And a well-beloved patriot. And I'm not saying, that I agreed with everything Charlie Kirk said or whatever. The dude said some shit that I don't agree with, but a lot of the good common sense stuff he said, I do happen to agree with. He was in love with the truth. Just like I am. I mean, he wore shirts that said freedom. I think he was wearing a shirt that day that said freedom across it. So his views and ideas aligned a lot with mine. I hold freedom to the highest ideal, the highest thing that we should fight for, in my opinion, is freedom. Because what the hell else are you gonna fight for? You know, besides freedom. If you're not gonna fight for freedom, if you don't want to be free, then what the hell? What's the point? What is the point? And these people are out there killing and fighting for the opposite, for some kind of police state or something, right? For censorship. And if it was just some lone kid, that he censored Charlie Kirk, the ultimate way. He did not like what Charlie Kirk had to say, so he censored him. He shut him up, right? He shut Charlie Kirk up. And in my opinion, the most cowardly way possible, some kind of video game way bullshit, you know, just get up on a building and line up your sights and pull the trigger once and run away. Then, you know, not the old West style, you know, in a shootout or something, or a duel or anything like that. That's where I think, because I have trouble with this whole thing that there's no place for violence. Honestly, I grew up in violence. I believe there is a place for violence in society, but it should be honorable. There should be honor. It shouldn't be cowardice in this shit. If people want to duel, they should be able to duel, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Why not? If two consenting adults want to go at it, let them go at it. If one of them doesn't want to, then he doesn't have to. He forfeits the duel. I don't know. But that's kind of off the subject a little bit. But that whole thing is cowardly to me. To get up and shoot somebody and not even look them in the eye or anything like that. It's just cowardice. And that's all it is. Because of this idea that words are violence, ideas are violence, right? And that's the shit that's being pushed out. Those are the ideas that are being promoted. Words are violence and all this stuff, so they can be responded to with actual violence, because they are actual violence. Charlie Kirk, and from everything I saw of the dude, he never even said anything that I saw that deserved a punch in the nose. You know, he never insulted anybody. I never saw him insult anybody or anything. I never saw it. He might have, but he didn't. Nothing I ever saw, you know, made him be deserving of a punch in the nose, let alone shot in broad daylight. You know what I'm saying? So what is it in your head that makes you think that his words, you know, the appropriate response to his words is not a punch in the nose, but a bullet? That there's something screwy in there. And I just I have a hard time understanding where and of course it was a young kid. From the pictures and stuff they were showing, the video and stuff, it was a young kid, probably been on medication his whole life. I don't know, it's crazy, it's insane, but whatever. And I'm not a big, as most of y'all know that have been watching me for a while, I'm not a Democrat or Republican or anything like that. I think it's all bullshit. But just standing back and looking at it, I can see one side constantly. I see their politicians and shit constantly calling for violence. I watch these people, Maxine Waters and the rest of them, Chuck Schumer and this. They're always calling for violence, and their constituents always enacting violence. Burning shit down, shooting at people, shooting at the president, killing Charlie Kirk, all these left-wing progressive Democrats, whatever you want to call them, whatever subgroup, trans, whatever, they're always enacting violence, shooting up schools and shit. These trans kids are shooting up schools and all this stuff. It's always on that side, enacting violence on the other side. And then at the same time, the side enacting the gun violence constantly are the ones who are harping on gun control. That we should take away people's gun rights. Now, the vast majority of the law-abiding citizens who own guns are, conservative Republicans, and they're not enacting violence. They're not shooting at Maxine Waters and Chuck Schumer. Nobody's shooting at those people. Those people can go out and just act however they want, right? They can say whatever they can call for violence against the others. That's how free they are to walk around. They're completely safe. They know that these law-abiding, honest folk aren't going to start shooting at them. You know what I'm saying? They're just carefree. Now, now I see that all the Republican congressmen and shit they want extra security and stuff, because of all the people on the other side want to shoot on them or whatever. And another thing that a lot of you might not know is that in the House or Congress, I think it was Congress, they tried to have a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk, and the Democrats wouldn't do it. The Democrat politicians, the congressmen, refused to have a moment of silence for the dude. This is the level of scumbag. What do you call it? Evil? Are they human beings? Wouldn't have a moment of silence for the victim of an assassination? And these people have supporters. People vote for these people. It's hard for me to understand. I swear, it's hard for me to understand how anyone would vote for these people. How do those people even exist? I mean, how did that whole, any of their ideas, any of that shit, how did that shit even, they're disgusting. And they are our leaders. They are the leaders of the free world, supposedly. And they refuse to even have a moment of silence for an assassination victim. So, yeah. That's what we're doing over here in the United States, y'all. We assassinate people and then celebrate it. And then you see all the social media posts and stuff of these not the politicians, just normal leftists, the purple hair, nose ring wearing people. They're celebrating it. They're clapping and applauding, and they just love the shit out of the fact that Charlie Kirk got his neck blown out. They love it. It's the greatest thing since that's happened. Since Trump lost his election in 2020. Yeah. So they're loving that shit. But and that goes to point out the degree of just decline and decay of that thought system, that side of it, that progressive side of things. It's decay. We're supposed to be, they've got it all back. This is supposed to be civilization. We're supposed to be civilized, right? That's the whole thing. But now we've got one side of one certain subgroup of our population running around being, the coward Robert Ford, when he assassinated Jesse James, shot him in the back or whatever. They're cowardly, and there's no honor or bravery at all in their whole belief system there. And so that's one thing I can say about the Republicans and conservatives, and that, at least they're patriots and they have some honor. Some of them might be naive, but I think might be the worst that I can personally say about, the Republicans. The other side is just disgusting altogether, in my opinion. But as far as Charlie Kirk goes, I've seen, people really upset about it and stuff. And And I honestly, I didn't know the dude. I mean, I watched him, I listened to him and stuff, and I agree with, like I said, with a lot of what he said. He said some stuff about, foreign relations that I didn't really agree with too much. But other than that, he even said that thing about, hey, we need to keep our Second Amendment. Yeah, people are going to get shot. That's part of the price we pay. And he was part of the price. He ended up being part of that price. And you gotta respect that. That's one thing he did. He lived a short life, but he lived a meaningful life. He changed America. Well, I think that's pretty awesome. But yeah, the dude got shot, and I feel really bad for his family and stuff. But I didn't know the dude. I'm just not part of the whole thing where, celebrity worship thing where, it didn't upset me a lot. The cowardly part of it and all that stuff, it pissed me off. But I didn't know Charlie Kirk, so I didn't get real upset over it. People die every day, from gunshots and stabbings. And I think that recent one about, that young girl that got stabbed on the subway, I think that upset me more than the Charlie Kirk thing. Just personally, I'm just talking about myself personally. Seeing a young girl like that get murdered, that to me, that was just more troubling and upsetting to me personally. But yeah, so we'll just have to see if this type of stuff keeps happening, and if it is going to cause. Yeah, I'm on YouTube. That's what I feel like I'm hesitating and stuff is because I'm on YouTube, right? So I've got to self-censor, and since I'm live, I can't censor myself through editing. I've got to actually watch what I say here. So, this stuff, I just feel like if this stuff keeps happening, there's going to be some kind of civil war. All right, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word or not, but that shit's going to kick off at some point. These people, because they celebrate it, and when you celebrate it, you get copycat shit. Okay, and the more these people celebrate this shit, and the more it's splashed all over the news, and especially with this guy getting away and stuff, and I don't know how long he's going to get away, how long he will be on the run or whatever, or how long he will get away with it. He might be getting arrested as I speak right now. But the longer he stays free, the longer, the whole manhunt, the media loves that shit. Oh, it's a manhunt there, and the media loves that shit. He's on the run. He's dangerous, and how they do. So more and more people are going to see this, and it's going to stay in the public eye longer, and then, it'll give these kids more ideas, and this it'll snowball. And another thing that I think about is what set this kid off. Like if it's not a government thing, if it's not a deep state CIA thing or a Russian thing or whatever, if it's just a random kid, how much of the influence, the social influence, the peer pressure that he felt that took him down this road, right? How much of that influence was AI? How many of those accounts that were talking that shit to him about inciting violence and how shitty and evil right-wing people are, and how the Republicans sucked, and how evil Charlie Kirk is, and how words are violence and all this shit? How many of those accounts talking that shit to him were AI, right? How much of his influence on his thought patterns were influenced by AI? I bet it's more than you would think. I bet it's more. We're getting more and more of this shit, and these AI accounts and these AI influencers and all this stuff are becoming more and more prominent. Like, as I've said before, they are highly knowledgeable about psychology. They know how to influence people, basically program people. You know, they've been studying psychology for decades, and they know how to do that shit. They wind them up and set them loose, you know. And if they get 10,000 kids like that and they just sick AI on them, you know, I mean, what, they'll get one or two of them to go off and do some crazy shit, right? You'd think. So just the numbers there too. But the thing with the whole political assassinations, and whether it's a psyop kind of deep state thing, we may never know, you know. But this stuff has been happening, I mean, since what? Abraham Lincoln, maybe earlier. You know, we've been dealing with this shit, and we're supposed to be civilized. The whole point of civilization is to be civilized, to be less animalistic, more civilized, and just courteous and living better lives. And we're becoming more and more just animals. We're devolving technologically. You know, we're going skyrocketing, right? But socially, we're devolving. We're becoming more and more animalistic. People aren't having sex to have kids anymore. They're just rutting. They're just rutting. And if they do, if a woman does get pregnant, odds are she'll have an abortion. It was an accident. They're just, you know, we're killing each other because of ideas, you know, and that is just like, think about it. That is just the same thing that they used to do. I think it was Aristotle, you know, they hung him or whatever. They killed him because of his ideas, because he was talking and they didn't like what he had to say. So they killed him. And the witches, they used to burn witches at the stake. All that stuff. They used to kill people because of their ideas and what they said, and thousands and thousands of years ago they used to do this. And we're still doing it today. We're still doing it today. It really confuses me when I see this kind of shit, right? The whole idea of it. Like, why are we still doing shit, you know, that they were doing back in the ancient Greek days? Before the Romans even took over. We were killing people for their thoughts, for their ideas, because their ideas were contrary, right, to what I believe. So I'm just going to kill you. You know, and then for a while there, we had an awakening, and we had actual freedom of speech and the Second Amendment. And now we're being censored on social media platforms and being killed out in the streets because, you know, we dare to say something that is unapproved by whoever. Whether it's unapproved by an individual or a corporation or the state or the system in general. Whatever, we're silenced and actually murdered for it. And we're supposed to be civilized. So, yeah, and this can't, it won't continue. It won't. We know it. We know, especially Gen X, we know it. We know this won't continue. This cannot continue in this fashion. This cannot keep going this way. The only question is, how will it crumble? How will it fail? All right. What is it gonna? What form is our destructor going to take? Are we going to get the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, or what? You know, are we going to get Civil War or World War III or some kind of online war? Is AI going to get loose? Chris Mills, is AI going to get loose and run rampant and just take down the grid across the world and infect, you know, what? There's so many possibilities now with all this technology that, you know, what the hell? We don't even We can't even list all the ways that this shit can fail. And then when you get into this and you start looking at the world and you're like, why the hell would I want it to continue? Why? Why would I want this shit to continue? Why wouldn't I cheer for it to fail? Why wouldn't I root for some kind of collapse, some kind of reset? I don't want a reset. I want people to continue to die for, because they said something that someone else didn't like. I want people to continue to be censored because they might say something that someone else doesn't like. I want a social credit score, and I want a computer chip in my head, and I want, no more real relationships. Let's just have relationships with AI and robots and shit. Let's just watch humanity circle the drain and disappear into the sewer of time. I think we would have a better chance with some kind of collapse and build back from start over again. Because the entire thing, that seems to me like the better chance of humanity going extinct is they just turn us all into robots, right? Grow us in vats and put chips in our head and stuff. That way you definitely would not say anything that isn't, prescribed and okayed and double, triple checked by the state and all that stuff. You don't have to worry about getting assassinated by some young coward punk if you just say what you're supposed to say, right? It's that simple. Just say what you're supposed to say, and we won't kill you. Do what you're supposed to do, and you can live, you can exist as long as you follow our rules and obey, right? Now that just that kind of shit rubs me the wrong way, even just the thought of it. But we're seeing it enacted today. And my wife got upset, honestly, because she's thinking, why do over this whole Charlie Kirk thing, why do bad things happen to good people? And I hear that a lot. That's a common thing, and I used to ask that a lot. And the answer to that, to me anyway, is clear cut and very simple. Because freedom is the highest ideal. All right? Whoever created this universe, they made freedom the ultimate thing to strive for, to yearn for. They put it in our hearts. Whoever you believe in, whatever you believe in, chance, evolution, God, Jesus, Allah, whatever, they put freedom at the top. All right? And that is the ultimate goal, is freedom. And with freedom, just like Charlie Kirk said, with freedom comes danger. There's danger with freedom. Freedom is dangerous. So, and with our Second Amendment, there are going to be casualties. You can't deny it. You can't sugarcoat it and play around with it and double talk around it and try to make it seem better or take people's guns and take people's rights and to make them safe. You're either free or you're not. Period. Do I have the right to say the truth? What I believe, even if it's not true? Do I have that right or don't I? Will I be censored or silenced or not? Or can I say things? As long as I'm not calling for violence or anything like that, as long as I'm presenting ideas or asking questions about anything, literally anything, that's freedom. If I'm censored, if I'm shut down, if I'm silenced, that's not. It's not freedom. Period. End of story. There's no gray areas and all this shit. You're either free or you're not. And if freedom is the highest ideal, which it is, it should be, period, end of story, then there's going to be danger. We're going to be in danger. And those of us who actually love freedom and understand that it is the highest ideal given to us by God, the precious gift of free will, okay? Then those of us who understand that and love freedom accept the danger. We accept it. Okay, I understand that I might be in danger, a certain amount of danger. My children might be faced with danger. Now, okay, so here's the part where everybody gets kind of screwy and emotional and stuff. But I want my children to be safe. That's the most important thing to me. I want my children to be, yes, everyone wants their children to be safe. I understand that. But I want my children to be free. I want them to be safe and alive, but they have to be free. They need to be free. That is the most important thing. I want my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and all the way down the line, I want them to be free. Because without freedom, I mean, what I keep saying that. What's the damn point? What is the point? What's the point in having a Maserati or a mansion or whatever if you can't leave that son of a bitch? If you can't drive your Maserati unless the government says you can. What's the point in having $10 million if you're not allowed to spend it on anything except what the government tells you can spend it on? What's the point? What's the point in working hard and fighting for the right if you can't change, if you don't have the freedom to change anything, to point out the lies, the hypocrisy, the double standards, to present the truth to people? What's the damn point? We all just going to be debt slaves now? We're in this virtual digital prison, and not only do we want to stay there, we fight when someone tries to point out the fact that we're in the prison. Hey, come out here. Let's come out. Let's not be prisoners. Let's not be slaves. Let's be free. And they will fight. They will fight against you. They will assassinate you. They will censor you. They will shut you up. And if this is some kind of deep state thing, this is the kind of thing that divides. It's straight up division, and you can't come together. You can't unify and fight for what's right when you're all divided and fighting against each other over bullshit. Not saying that the Charlie Kirk assassination was bullshit. I'm just saying the reason he was assassinated was bullshit. Right? You can't say that. It's mind-blowing when you think about that. The reason. Because he said some stuff. That dude, there was no revenge there. Charlie Kirk didn't do anything to anybody. He didn't take out somebody's family and some guy was on a revenge mission or nothing. No, the dude just didn't like what Charlie Kirk said. Yeah. And that's the world we live in. That's par for the course now. And then people are gonna tell me that we're not headed towards some kind of ultimate collapse or some shit bullshit. I think we're circling the drain. There's no other way to look at it, in my opinion. It's just it's crazy. All right. Well, I got to go to work, put in another damn 11 or 12 hour day. So It's been exhausting last few weeks, probably a month or so now. All right. We got some people here. Tim Beck, AF, Shannon, me, Vintage, Just Another Guy in the Woods, Lake, Stephanie, Anarchy Television, Lunatic, G Simplex. All right, well, quite a few of y'all showed up today. All right, well, thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching and listening. Like I said, that was Lake's, Just Another Guy in the Woods. It was his idea. I was kind of debating whether or not I was going to talk about Charlie Kirk, because everybody's talking about Charlie Kirk now. That's all you see. So, but I was going to do a live stream anyway this morning, and then Lake kind of talked about it, and I guess well, not I guess, it is a very important topic, and it's something that we need to talk about. Maybe we can talk about it more in our live streams this weekend. If y'all have some questions and you want to actually discuss some stuff instead of just, basically getting here and listening to me do a weekday rant, we can have an actual discussion about it, on my live stream, my weekend live stream. All right. So you can join me there tomorrow morning and then Sunday afternoon Eastern time in the United States. All right, and I'll leave you there with that. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. Hit the hype button too if you see the hype button down there. Sometimes you can't. I don't know how YouTube is doing it. So, but if you see that hype button down there, give that an old thumb, and I appreciate it. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.